Salaam alaikum, Imam. Communication. One of the essential aspects of, well, all human interaction. And the whole idea is when you're doing counseling, you're having a dialogue with somebody. Now, again, we're not assuming that somebody is coming asking an Islamic question, because you and I both know many times, in many cases, people will ask a question, but there's some hidden agenda underneath the question. Like if a lady comes and says, Imam, I wanted to ask you, what is the ruling on a husband who doesn't spend time with his wife, abandons his children, does bad things online? You know, there's so many different things under that. Or perhaps you are doing a counseling session with a married couple, and right away they start asking questions about halal and haram. Separating those two is one of the things, inshallah, we'll get into later on in this program. But let's break it down to the essentials. And I hope this doesn't come off as patronizing. I hope it doesn't seem too simple. But you know what? Better safe than sorry, right? So let's start with the essentials of communication. Questions, statements, minimal encouragers, and nonverbal behavior. When you put these four things together, you have the foundation, the elements of communication. So, different types of questions that we ask. I mean, imagine if you're talking to somebody or somebody's talking to you and they're just constantly asking questions. How does that take the dialogue forward, right? Sometimes it feels like an interrogation. Minimal encouragers are those little things like, things that demonstrate that I'm listening. Nonverbal behaviors, whether you're saying eye contact or, leaning in, there's a lot of little nonverbal behaviors that demonstrate to the person that you're present. Now, sometimes, for example, let's say you're speaking to a female. Well, you're not going to be making eye contact, or maybe you are, but the idea is often what we would do is you would aim your voice at her eyes, right? As though you're saying, yep, I'm listening and I'm present. These are the little nuances that in most counseling courses even, they don't really teach properly how to do it, especially with Muslims. Or for example, if you're talking to somebody in a different language, with a lot of psychology students, they learn that the first thing you ask somebody, the first question asked is, what brings you in today? It's a great question, sure. You want to try to establish a structure. But imagine if you translated that into Arabic or a different language. Shujabak, why are you here? That's what it sounds like when it's translated. So imagine if we have to modify even the most basic of skills taught from a Western perspective, what else do we have to modify? So throughout the series, inshallah, we'll talk a lot more about all of the things that, inshallah, my students, psychology, master's students in psychology are learning, and I want to provide that for you, hoping that you can take this and build on the framework that you already have. Jazakallah khair, walhamdulillahi rabbil alameen.